All right. Welcome everyone to our webinar Wednesday. My name is Shay. I am the community manager at Parsec Education. Hi, Lisa. If you're joining us, feel free to share your name and what school you're from. Before we jump in, just a few quick housekeeping items. Today's session will be recorded and you will receive the recording and the slides by email after the webinar. Please use the chat, like I mentioned, to just share your thoughts, drop questions as they come up, and then we will leave time at the end for Q&A. So we have a lot of time. We're excited to make this super interactive. We have an amazing guest who's going to be joining us, and so yeah, we're excited. So getting into last week's webinar, we kicked off our first webinar in our superintendent series. We were joined by Heidi Gasca, Bob Nelson, and Melanie Mata, and they shared their journey and what lessons they've learned through their superintendent role. Next week, we will have our part two, which is going to be all about leading through crisis. So Kim will put in the chat who our guest panel will be. So they'll be sharing what it's like dealing through going through crisis in their role. Moving on, I want to introduce our next guest. We have Coach Joe Marino. Coach Joe has spent almost a decade and a half in the classroom, on the field, and consulting for schools. Coach Joe takes real world and class experiences and translate them into time-saving resources by using simply, readily available edtech tools for all aspects of education. He is the Italian guy from Jersey who lives in Texas but works all over the USA to bring real world solutions to give back time to give back time for you to spend with your family and friends. And you will always see him in an infamous tracksuit if you ever go to any conferences. Um, while meeting with him, you'll laugh, you'll cry, but hopefully the goal is that you leave with one piece of useful information that you can use that you didn't know before you joined. He's going to walk through a little bit more about his background because I really want him to share what he shared with me earlier. So with that, Joe, I'm excited to turn it over to you. He's going to walk through what flexible curriculum looks like in practice and why it matters most for students to learn differently. So, Coach Joe, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Shay, thank you very much, Miss Kimberly. And for all three of our listeners, how are you? Thank you for coming. Those of you in here, I see Pepper and Lisa. Thank you so much for coming in. Um, this is really cool. And this is a topic that I love. And it's funny because we were talking about this, Shay, where people hear Coach Joe, they think I'm just going to come in and it's at the bottom of the corner of the slide and talk about BrightThinker. People don't know that I'm a consultant. I travel around, I do keynote. I actually did a keynote speech yesterday for a school. I'm not going to mention the school, but I did their mid-year keynote, get into the, next part and pumped them up and got them ready. And trying to let people know there's not one way to teach, there's not one way to learn. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of background, when I say a decade in the classroom, I'm a decade in the classroom, but I'm 30 years on the field and the mat as a head coach. 30 years. And I'm only 32, so I'm sorry. But 30 years on the coach. I
You
was
look
a
young
head
though,
coach.
Coach Joe.
I thank you. Thank you. But I'm also Google certified, Canvas certified, PBL certified, Avid certified, Stellar certified. I've used Edgenuity, Edmentum, Accelerate, Excellus, you name it, I've done it. Taught gen ed, taught special ed, AP, ELL, all of it. And I've used all the learning management systems. I consult 400 schools myself, not my company, myself, nationwide. And the key is not selling them a product. The key is selling them a resource for whoever needs it. Okay. And it's getting it into the kids' hands. And I went, if you want to click to the next slide, my life's a little chaotic. I did all 120 credits online and I started my life in Jersey, ended up in Texas, where I live now for 10 years. All my clients, most of them are in California. And my claim to fame is that I taught at the Lean On Me school, East Side High. That's where I taught, and I raised my kids on the Jersey Shore. Snooky did my son's gender reveal because his wife was Snooky's bartender. So, we got to throw that out there. But I was a coach for 20 years, and I don't even know where to start because I don't want to take up all the time. But I was a coach for 20 years, and long story short, got a full scholarship out of high school. And I'm very tight with Kim, and she doesn't even know this part of the story. 4-year full scholarship, full ride, everything paid, Johnson and Wales for marketing. And my dad wouldn't let me take it. I grew up very poor. And when I graduated high school, here comes my age in 92, graduated high school. Shay was not even born yet. So sorry, Shay. Had to throw that out.
I was one.
You're one. Fantastic. I had to throw that out there. And Kimberly wasn't born yet either. So he's like, nobody is getting jobs out of college. And my dad was the union. He was post office union. My dad was, my stepmother, my grandfather, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. By the time I was 1 month out of school, I was a mailman. 15 years in, cut to the chase, I get a phone call at the post office. It's a guy I went to high school with. He says, "Hey, Joey, I haven't seen you in a long time, man, but I hear you're crushing it being a head baseball coach." I was coaching AAU, select ball, travel ball, all before it was the normal, right? When it was actually all-star baseball year round. He goes, I got a head coaching job available here at a school in Jersey. He goes, but I got one problem. He goes, I haven't seen you since high school, but when I saw you, you were going off to Rhode Island. You have no college credit. I go, you called me at the post office. Go figure. You call me at the post office. He's like, you need 60 college credits to get paid. And I'm like, dude, I don't have 60 credits. And he's like, well, I can't pay you. And it's 7 days a week for 7 months. And I'm like, damn. I hang up the phone. I look around. I've been in the post office 15 years. I'm 33 years old. I'm still the youngest guy in my office, still. And I'm at top pay, top salary. I walk into the postmaster's office and it was like an episode of an after school special. I go, I quit. I'm going to college. And they're looking at me and they said, Junior, you got 5 kids. How the hell are you quitting and going to college? I said, I'm going to become a teacher and shape young minds. And that was it. Put myself through college, Thomas Edison, got a job at East Side High. And those of you who know East Side High, it was at the time, 2013, the school is 90% Dominican, okay, all Spanish speakers at home, 10% other nationalities, not many white people, not many white teachers, under 50, okay. And I went in there and kid in the back of the room, 19-year-old kid, I'll never forget this, in the back of the room, feet up, 30 kids in the classroom, first class I'm ever teaching. I went to alternate route, first class. Looks at me, goes, look at this, another rich guy who's going to change our world. And I'm like, rich guy? Did you see the piece of crap that I drove up in? Those were my first words on my first class on my first day. And we're in the basement of the school. So those of you who've seen the movie, it was filmed in the school. So we're at the windows at the bottom. All 30 kids get up and run to the window and picking out every crappy car in the parking lot, trying to figure out which one's mine. That was the first 10 minutes. And I go, guys, I grew up over on Tappan Street. And they're like, Tappan Street? My cousin's over on Doyle. And the same kid put his finger up and goes, Coach is good. And that was it. They knew I was from the area. They know I spoke the language. They know that I'm not coming in there trying to make a change. That's what I did. I'm coming in there to help them better their situation. So that's my story of how it started. And unfortunately, Shay, you were gonna give me a little bit of a bump here, but I got out because I have kind of a health condition. So I'm very high energy. I don't know if you guys notice, but this is 24/7. I wake up at 7 o'clock. I'm like a toddler. I go till 9 o'clock and I pass out on the living room floor. That's what we do. And Kim and Shay know that because they've been at conferences with me where it's go, go, go. So I have a minor heart problem and I collapsed a couple of years ago and was in the hospital and that was it. I had to stop teaching. So now I travel the country and I help put the right resources into everybody's hands. That's the short version of the story. Um, my job, I'm not a salesman. I'm not. I could care less about the cost. I care less about making money. I want to make money, sure, but I care less about it. I need to put the right things in the kids' hands. The things that bother me is when salespeople walk into a school and try to solve a problem, but they don't know the problem. They try to sell a product. Okay. Not everyone learns the same. So if you're using a product for all your credit recovery kids, but 20% of them still can't do it, and that 20% is going to change year after year, why are we still using the same thing? Why aren't you bringing something else in? Because you have a contract? You're not doing anybody any favors, right? The school is actually hurting themselves because they could lose accreditation. They could get lower graduates. Teaching staff can be upset. There's school choice everywhere. Kids could go everywhere. You have all that. Okay. And then the kids they're either bored, they're not invested, they're not engaged. We have to be able to put things in. But the number one rule that I have on this screen, and I know, I'm sorry, Shay, I'm off and running, but you're letting me
Oh, no,
go.
you're good. You're good.
Okay. The number one rule of any classroom whatsoever, if you have consistency, accountability, and structure, your class is going to be awesome. I hate the teachers and the coaches that say different rules for different fools. No. Uh-uh. Consistency, accountability, and structure. I don't care if you're the best kid in the class, worst kid in the class. You break the rule, you suffer the consequences. Bottom line. That's it. And that's what we do. And the other thing is, you talking, and I know the whole mental health thing, SEL thing, and all that. Are you talking to the kid like a person, or are you talking to him like a kid? When that kid walks into your classroom, are you sitting there at the front of the room with your arms folded like you're the greatest thing going? No, you should be standing at the door. Hi, Shay. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Kansas. Hi, Pepper. You say their name. That might be the only time some of those kids hear their name the entire day. Parents work two, three jobs nowadays because nobody can get by. This is based out of California here. It's very expensive for a blue collar family out here. They're working two, three jobs, each family member. That kid might be working a job. I taught in Jersey, I taught in Dallas, and I work out here in California. It doesn't matter where you are, and it doesn't matter if you're rural or inner city or even suburbs. Everybody has a story. But if you use those three pieces right there, consistency, accountability, and structure, you're going to get by. Now, Kim and Shay, we were talking before we got on, and I'm glad it wasn't recorded. I made Shay turn off the recording. Glad it wasn't recorded. People have a tendency to look down on kids as a teacher. Why? Why are you looking down on them? Right? Yeah, they're going to be goofy. They're going to try to get away with everything. And I love when they do something, you tell them they can't, and they're like, why not? You just don't understand it. No, genius. I was 15 years old at one time. I did it. I know what's going to happen. I know you're going to suffer the consequences. In Dallas right now, and I'm not in Dallas, I'm in California visiting schools. But in Dallas right now, yesterday, hundreds of kids walked out of Dallas ISD to protest. Okay. So when I was teaching, and I guess this was probably about 6, 7 years ago, I was in Dallas County and they were walking out for a protest, and the kids were walking out. And they said, "What do you think, coach?" I said, "Here's the two things I'm going to tell you, and this is what I live my life by. Are you walking out because you believe in what's about to happen? Or are you walking out just to get out of the classroom? Because there's going to be consequences." I said, "I'm not stopping you. You are a young adult and you're making a decision. But do you know the decision you're making?" So all you're doing is encourage them to really think about what's happening. Heard two kids in the back of the room start talking, go, "Yo, Danny just told me to go outside. Like, I don't know what's going on. And now they're saying they're suspending us for the whole week." And he's like, "Oh, going outside protesting X, Y, and Z." I don't even remember what the protest was. And turns out 15 kids, only 15 kids. And this is the one that I'm talking about. Out of the hundreds that were supposed to go out, didn't, because they didn't know what was happening. Right. So it's all about treating the kid like a person, not an adult. They're still a kid, but like a person. Let them think. We want them critical thinking, right? We want that in the classroom. You got to do it in your life. So, keys to success. I love it. Shay's not even saying a word. She's just, "Go, coach, just roll it." Not everybody learns the same. Look, I was a special ed teacher, but I wasn't. And everybody's like, "What's that mean?" I didn't want to do dang paperwork for a special ed teacher. You know how much paperwork's involved in that? Teaching in Jersey and in Texas, I could have 12 special ed kids. This was at the time I was teaching, so it could be different now. 12 special ed kids plus a self-contained kid in my classroom at any given time without a para. I had to scaffold everything. I had to teach everything 5 different ways. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to put an audio on. I'm going to put it on paper. I'm going to change it into a graph map chart. I'm going to show you a game about it. PBL is my favorite. We lay everything out and then we do project-based learning. That's my favorite. That's where it's really grasped. So everyone learns a little different. What I teach Shay today, I might not be able to teach Kim the same exact way. Okay. Pepper and Kansas, they might learn 2 different ways. And then Lisa comes in and she's the kid who just needs to hear it. Right. So you have all these people who just, they learn their own way. And us as teachers, unfortunately, we get burnt out, really burnt out. And our lives revolve around it. But a good teacher, we revolve around the kid. We're not worried about our lesson plans. We're not worried about the kid passing some state test. We're not. I don't care. You want to fire me because the kid didn't pass state test? But that kid went from a level 1 to a level 3 in less than a year, right? They grew. They grew. They went from getting in trouble every week to showing up on time. I had the worst kid ever, tap me on the shoulder one day and say, Coach, he said to me, Coach, this was great. Before he said this was great, I was writing my letter of resignation. I was done. It was one of those days. I had it typed out, everything. I was done. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. He'd come up, tap me on the shoulder. He goes, great class today, Coach. I gave you a run, but you do know you're the only class that I don't skip. Son of a gun, I'm deleting everything off of the computer. Now I'm not quitting and I'm there. And I'm like, you ruined my day. I wish I was making this stuff up. I'm not, because it's about the kid growing. As a coach or even as a teacher, when a kid walked onto my baseball field, that was my main thing. I coached for almost 30 years was baseball. I became a wrestling coach. Kid walked on the field, couldn't catch a beach ball, right? Couldn't catch a beach ball. You throw a beach ball, hit him right in the head. But then that's the first impression a teacher or coach gets. And they leave that for 10 years with the kid that he just can't catch a beach ball. They don't think he can grow because of that first day. But when you watch a kid who's in a classroom, who always was in detention, always acting up, and then you watch them walk down the ramp to graduate after when they were freshmen, and it's not a, look, I'm going to say it, it's not a push them through graduation, it's a real graduation. They're going to college, right? They're going to college. They got a scholarship. They decided to do the dual credit junior, senior year. But when they were 14 years old, that kid was acting a fool every day. That's growth. I don't care about some test score. I really don't. I care about life because everybody lives it different and learns it different. So when a student and a person is growing, that's very important. When I first met Kimberly 4 years ago, she just thought I was the wild guy selling stuff. When we started talking, we've been working together for 4 years, finding solutions to help teachers like you, superintendents like you, read data, find a solution, and go, well, these 10% of the kids, what do you have for those 10%? Oh, you have no money? Then why are you not changing your contract? We're okay having the tough conversations. Somebody has to. You have to have the tough conversations with people because if you don't make a change, it's just going to get worse as it goes on.
Coach Joe, I want to just do an audible real quick and intercept. Candace, Lisa, or Paula, Pepper, has Coach Joe is speaking. Is anything resonating with you all? Because I saw some snaps. So I just want to get your thoughts on how you think, what you're feeling.
Yeah, I can share. Yeah, Coach, great advice. I was actually just coming in from doing some classroom walkthroughs, and I think that some of the little tidbits that you're sharing are good things and feedback that I'm going to share with teachers. So definitely great advice for all of us, and always a good reminder. So
Lisa,
appreciate
I
it.
emailed you.
You did?
We met at
Yes, we did.
CFPC.
We were both crazy at the conference. Too much energy.
I see Lewis Center. I'm like, you were one of the ones we were talking about. We were talking with
Yeah,
you. We're like,
yeah,
hey, let's get together. And that's
yeah,
the other thing. When we all meet each other, right? And we all have these solutions, life gets in the way. And that's the other thing. But thank you
yeah, yeah.
for taking that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Pepper or Candace, anything you want to throw in there? Because I love to
Um,
hear.
hi, Coach and everyone. I am not a teacher or a superintendent. I had the opportunity to speak at one of the Parsec conferences maybe a couple of years ago. And I was just fascinated by the work that you guys are doing. I work in the market research marketing area, but what I found is they brought me in to learn from an outsider. Whoops. And I am learning from you as an outsider in terms of, consistency, accountability, structure. These are things that, as a consultant, I could help my clients. But I also want to learn more about the education system and how I can be a better consultant in the education system. So this is really good. My focus has been with um, Black American consumers, helping business leaders, Black people better understand our values of people as well as the market segment. So this helps me a lot where I can take it and apply it to my work. So I appreciate what Parsec is doing, and I love your energy, Coach.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I love it.
You know, it's fun. It's funny you say that, Pepper, because you know, nobody ever you don't want to stereotype everything because it doesn't matter where you're from. You just have to learn, right? I grew up in Jersey City. Every neighborhood was a different culture and a different race. And by the way, that was the greatest thing growing up like that in the 80s on the street because everybody's culture, they cook different. And us as kids, by the time we were 10 years old, we caught on to that. And we went to everybody's house to eat. But that's a perfect example of how people learn, how people adapt, how people go. People say city people are so fast, right? Grew up in the city so fast. Now I live in the middle of nowhere, Texas. And when I say nowhere, Texas, there's nobody around at all. I talk to the cows. It is so slow. But the people are the same. The learning difficulties are the same. It's just slower and faster. Yeah, me and the cows have a really weird relationship because I yell at them all day and they move back at me and my dog chases them. I got to get back into the city. I have to. But anyway, um, so these are a couple stats. Look, I'm going to use BrightThinker as an example, but like I said, I used Edgenuity, I used Edmentum, I used Excellus, I used Accelerate, I used everything, right? I used it all. But here's a perfect example of some of the schools and some of the information that we're getting. And part of it is because we are so chunked and differentiated, right? Here's people say to me, well, my kids need video to learn. A 20-minute video from somebody talking dry straight through is going to help your kid, or is that kid going to go on YouTube and start searching for the answers? Right? What people don't understand, we want to put everybody through college. That's not the thing anymore. It's getting somebody a career, so maybe CTE, put them in the military, right? College, whatever the case may be. You have those three big things that you want to see. Every single one of those tests from ASVAB, SAT, ACT, CTE certification, even a GED is reading and comprehension. And if these kids can't read, we have a problem. We have a major problem. So these are a couple things that we had and we shared with people. And it's funny because now I remember when me and Lisa were talking, she's like, yeah, we should chat up because, you know, I got a couple things that we could probably do. I got some kids who need this, some kids who need that. And everybody always does. And we all get busy and we all get in the way. But that's when the real stuff comes in because the 3, 4 people that are on here with us right now, they want to learn something they didn't know 45 minutes ago to try to help move forward with everything they're doing. And when people say I teach in a good school, I teach in a bad school, no, all the schools are the same, just with different level problems. That's all. They're all the same. So that's really where I'm at with everything. Now, again, if you use Edge, use Edmentum, use BrightThinker, use Excellus, Accelerate. The reason I want to show this is stuff that can help teachers. California certified A to G for high school. We're K to 12, but the 10 units are there and ready to go. Go ahead, Shay, you can flip through. But notice what I'm talking about, not everybody learns the same. So is it a lesson with a video? Is it a lesson with just reading? What is it? We have 4-point methodology, meaning there's going to be 3 to 4 quizzes or practice tests prior to unit test. And there's activities and labs and hands-on built in. We were designed for independent study and homeschool. Then we added the credit recovery piece. We added the brick and mortar piece, added the summer school piece, added the SPED piece, added the ELL piece, because not everyone learns the same. And we're the only company that has it in print and digital. If you told me I had to learn on a computer, no way. No way. I need books. I need it in my hand. I need to hold it. I need to see it. So that's what I'm talking about. Not everybody learns the same. Vocabulary. Every single lesson, every single course, every single subject, we're starting with vocabulary. Are the kids getting the vocabulary they need? Look, I have 5 children of my own, and I have 8 grandchildren. I'm 51. I'm just going to throw it out there. 5 children, 8 grandchildren. My 5 children, I have one that went and finished college. That one lives on my couch, right? Because he went to college just to go to college. My other four, all CTE. I have a carpenter, I have an electrician, I have a military who was actually a Teamster prior, and my daughter's a phlebotomist. Okay. They all learn that way. When I use big words, they don't know them because they went through the system. They all graduated in the 2010s, except one graduated in 2020. They went through the system. They didn't know. When my son first took the ASVAB, first took it, he scored the lowest you could possibly score when he was 17. At 27, because now he has a career and he's starting to learn his way, he scored top 80%. So everyone keeps talking about AI. AI is going to help the kids. No, AI is going to send us down a rabbit hole. Just like, and this is my opinion, you could run it. If it's controlled, it's going to be great, but it's like YouTube, right? You tell a kid to go on YouTube and find a lesson. Next thing you know, they're looking at pandas jumping off a seesaw. Pandas off a seesaw. If you haven't looked that up, greatest thing ever. But we have built in AI, but we call it Intelligent Companion. It doesn't leave BrightThinker. Kids ask it a question, it only uses BrightThinker resources. There's other platforms out there. If they're on the Buzz LMS, they're doing it too. I believe Agilix has it. I know that eDynamics has it, right? You can add that stuff on. It stays in. So it doesn't take the kid down a rabbit hole. It doesn't gain a brain like AI. It's using Socratically to help the student. So you're having that extra tutor piece in there. Go ahead, flip for me again, Shay.
Yep.
Shay, can you go back to, because this right there, just stay right there. At the top, there's a toolbar that's hidden in the back. That toolbar has text to speech, 45 languages verbally, 115 written. It also highlights in English what's being read in the other language. So you're going to help that student. Many of us, and when I say us, the curriculum companies have it. Are the ones you're using have it, right? They have a dictionary, picture dictionary, magnifier, masking tool. Kids see, and a masking tool is it shades out a paragraph at a time. It's all pretty great. And these are the tools that are going to help ELL, going to help SPED, even Gen Ed learners, because the state, when you take a state test, provides a highlighter, a note, all that stuff, notes up there, answer eliminator. Are we teaching the kids to use it? I love when people say teachers teaching to the test. No, we're not. We're teaching test taking skills. Just are the kids grasping it? Are we doing it the right way? Are we showing it? Me telling you something, a story for 45 minutes without maybe showing a visual, you're not going to grasp it or you're going to get bored. This is a 3-minute society. 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes to get your point across. And some of you are going to argue and go, no, you got 30 seconds. You got
Coach Joe,
30
you have
seconds.
two. So is there anything, I know you have two, so I know I want to be mindful of time. Is there anything else that you want to just
I want to say
wrap it
thank you for the
up?
4 people that listened to me tell a story. I hope that you gained. And I do want to, Pepper, I'd be happy to talk to you. Lisa, even if it's not about anything to do with BrightThinker, love to chat with you because we did chat, had some pretty cool conversation. We did have fun. They were crushing the music that night. Kimberly and Shay were there. They were crushing the music that night. But I would love to chat because I care about kids. And my goal, I want to be the 60-year-old teacher who's the wrestling coach in the middle of nowhere, Texas. That's my goal to get back in if I can ever get myself healthy. But I'm not supposed to be on the road right now. I'm supposed to be taking a break. But I'm in the middle of Susanville, California right now and drove over. Okay, I'm going to just tell you this. I left Marysville yesterday to do the keynote at Marysville. I did a keynote at one of the charter schools there. Did a keynote for the end of year thing. Drove 3.5 hours. Did not know it was 3.5 hours through the Sierra Mountains, which, by the way, has no guardrails. So don't take your eyes off the beautiful scenery. Take off that. And I'm in a blue tracksuit, just looking like Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos. It's starting to rain. I get to a stop. There's a 25-year-old kid holding a construction stop sign that says stop. Holding it. I pull up. He goes, "Hey, man, you got chains on your tires?" I go, "Do I look like I have chains on my tires?" That's what I exactly said to him. And he hears my voice and goes, "You're about to go up this hill. And if you don't have four-wheel drive or chains, you're going to come back down the hill the same way you went up it." And I'm like, "Oh." And he goes, "Where are you from?" I go, "Texas." He goes, "You don't sound like you're from Texas." I go, "I'm from Jersey." He goes, "Oh, you driven in the snow. Have a nice day." Now, 6, 7 inches are dropping by the second. He goes, "You got 10 minutes to get up the hill." Totally got up the hill. I get down into Marysville. Everybody's outside the Susanville, smoking cigarettes going, do you have change for your tires? Do you have change? Listen, this was a highlight for me. But thank you so much for listening to my chaos.
Yeah, no, thank you, Coach Joe, for sharing your experience, your insight.
Lisa, I'm going to call you.
Yeah. Lisa and Pepper, we will email you the deck and then also include Coach Joe's contact if you want to reach out to him. We'll stay for Q&A, but I just want to thank you all for spending your Wednesday morning with us. And next Wednesday, as a reminder, is our Superintendent Part 2 series. So we hope to see you back next Wednesday. So with that, you're free to go. But if you have any questions for Joe or us, we'll stay around.